Okay, after you've drawn all your vertical lines, make them longer in the middle and shorter on the sides because you want to emphasize the corner of the building in the middle first. We're going to draw an orthogonal line to the second vanishing point, working on the right side of one of the middle buildings. And then, working from the top, we'll do it again. Make sure that your straight edge goes all the way to the vanishing point. Now you can take a sheet of paper and fold it down the middle. Originally this was a 12 by 18 inch sheet of paper, okay, and then I just cut it in half. So now it's 18 by 6 inches, which forces me to make my vanishing points that far apart. Okay, now on the bottom of the building here, all right, going to converge that orthogonal line to the first point and now to the second point. Okay, so it's just like ghosting the extended line. You don't draw the whole line, you just for the building you're working on. And here I want to do this kind of slowly. We'll do one building at a time. Okay, so you get the general idea on how to lay these out. So I'm going to pivot up and draw into the next building. So you see that building converges to the first vanishing point on the left side. Now on the right side, it'll go to the second vanishing point. Okay. So here, just that short line. Now because our vanishing points are so far apart, the orthogonals don't seem too extreme when they're perpendicular to the verticals. And that's kind of critical. Here I'm going to work on the last building. Alright. Think of this as a pivot point. Pivot. I wrote pivot there. And I'm just going to slide between the two lines there. And there you have it. Now I'm going to vanishing point 2 or pivot point 2. There you go. You're going to wind up pivoting a lot on these vanishing points. Okay, speed this up just a little bit. Taking way too long. Okay, so there you have your 3, like so. Your 3 buildings, 1, 2, and 3. Alright, now what I want to draw is 2 lines converging to the first vanishing point for a road or a sidewalk in front of these buildings. And so when we get to the next section, I kind of want to show you how to do this a little faster just by pivoting. So here I'm going to draw the left side of the building, pivot, then the next one because I'm skipping the space, pivot, skip a space, then draw that line. So I've got all 3 of those on the left side done, so I'm going to jump over here to the right side and do those 3 next. Pivot, skip a space, pivoting up, skip a space. Now look how I'm going higher up because I'm closer to the vanishing point, right? Cool. Okay, now I have to angle down because I'm below the eye level line. And I'll skip a space very close here. That one lines almost directly in front of the next one. How about that? 2 more to go. Take that back 3 more. 2, second building, and third building on the other street. There we go. So we'll make them converge to the second vanishing point to make this road, spread them out in the front, and they converge in the distance. And there you go. That's a pretty good layout for building a city with two-point perspective. Now here I'm doing a small series of lines, and I'm just pivoting up. But notice I'm on the right side of the buildings, but I'm drawing lines on the ground, so to speak. They could either be sidewalk lines, other road lines. And then as I'm on the left side of the buildings, I want to work off the second vanishing point. I think this is the part that gets confusing. We kind of want to freehand it. Just doesn't seem to work out until we get the angles laid out in our head. Alright, erase a few areas here. I'm going to erase the extended line so I can have crossroads for a corner here. Normally this drawing would probably take about 3 to 4 hours once you've completed everything. Okay. Yeah, don't freak out about my Kentucky ruler. Alright. It's blue, so I can find it easy. You get my age, it's hard to see things anyways. Yeah, I won't tell you how old I am. You probably would freak out. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is draw some lines on one side of each building, and these are kind of reference lines for the top and bottom of each window. So what I do is just draw a few, and this kind of helps me keep all my windows and doors and things like that in perspective. So I try to freehand it. A lot of times I wind up doing it anyways. I have to go back and check. So might as well do it the first time and do a few reference lines like so. You do them on both sides of the building, or all the buildings simultaneously. And notice how I'm pivoting up. Just pivoted up past the eye level line. The higher I go, okay, the more steep that orthogonal becomes. You wouldn't think it would be like that, but it really is. It works against all logic when you're drawing. Anyways. Okay, so there's a pretty good layout of how I'm going to set in the windows and doors and keep the tops and bottom of each window and door in perspective. Okay, so check this out. So if you just cross your lines with some long verts or verticals, and erase between those, you can have your windows drawn evenly across the building, precisely and quickly. Just erase the spaces in between. So instead of drawing each individual box, now they're already done. Now I can go back and enhance them or change them, and I will when I start on detail work. But remember, we're still just doing a layout. Okay, here's another way. Draw a line, skip a space, draw a line, skip a space, draw a line, skip a space. Say it in your head when you do it. Okay? Clean it up a little bit. That's a good way to set your windows. Okay. Draw this where you can actually see it. I tend to draw lightly with a light hand at first. And so it just makes it easier to erase your mistakes or overextended lines, like we do a lot with perspective drawings. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to speed this up and I want to make these buildings look kind of old, so I'm going to draw an awning in front of this building over here where you walk into it. So I drew the doors, but then I had to erase the top of the doors where they just show partially underneath the awning in front of this building. So I'm getting some ideas on how I'm going to start detailing out each building. Okay. A few arches over the windows. Make this building, I don't know, make it from the 1920s or something. Really old. No, I'm not that old. But I know my art teacher was from the 20s. She was that old. Some of you may have had her. No, none of you, none of my students, but if you're just watching this video, you might know Marjorie Edwards. Okay, so I'm going to leave it with you, and check out my next video. I'm going to do a bunch of Christmas ones, so check those out. Those are for fun, some pastels, and see ya. Keep drawing. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.